Welcome to another exciting episode of Pete for Society. My guest today is an emotional well-being expert, celebrated artist, keynote speaker, and the author of the best-selling book, Free and First, Unlocking Your Ultimate Life. Please welcome in Elizabeth Jane. Elizabeth, welcome in.
Thanks so much, Pete, for having me today.
Well,
Yes.
It's so great to have you here. So why don't you tell me a little more about yourself? I mean, that's a lot of big words. You're a keynote speaker, author, emotional well-being coach. So who is Elizabeth Jane, the person?
Yes, well, I know it's a pretty scary sort of title there, but all I am is I just went through a divorce in which started in 2017, a few years ago now, and I hit rock bottom because it was an unexpected occurrence that happened to me. I thought I'd be with my husband forever, and we'd be looking at our grandchildren and all that. And so it came as a shock, and it really set me on a roller coaster. The shock, deep grief, feelings of worthlessness, all the ugly feelings I was feeling. And I thought to myself, gosh, divorce is so common. It's, 50% of us are hit with divorce, at some stage, or nearly 50%. And we've always been an optimist, and I really wanted to work out how to climb out of the heavy hole, the deep hole that I was in. And so my book organically grew, tools and tips, basically, which is tools and tips to lift yourself out of any challenge, whether that's a relationship challenge, a health challenge, or a financial challenge. You can apply the same tools and techniques to lift you up and into a better place.
So what got you to being a wellness coach? I mean, that's kind of an interesting area to get into. So is it something you've kind of just kind of fell into?
Yes, I fell into it. I think, I speak from experience, and when I was in such a bad place, I started investigating many, many modalities to fix me, to get me back on track, to get me back on the yellow brick road to feeling good. And after, so that my book is just talking about the truths of simple techniques that we can pick up in our everyday lives to get us back feeling good about ourselves from a
Yeah.
challenge. And the challenge is, ironically, not at the time, we don't think it is, but the challenge can be, with the right toolkit, an opportunity to grow and the obstacle is the opportunity. But at the time I thought, hey, hell no, this is not an opportunity. This is just like, why has this happened to me? I don't deserve this. And all that sort of the victim mentality that I had, I started to realize just kept me in it. And the shame, I felt shame, I must have done something wrong. Why would my husband kick me out? Did I cook chicken instead of fish, or what happened? Like, I didn't understand what had caused the breakdown of our marriage, and now I'm piecing together the importance of healthy communication, and a tool I use in my book, which is follow the ABC and you will be free. And the ABC is, like, all about acknowledging and allowing how we feel, and then having the courage and the vulnerability to speak up about how we feel, and put the boundary in place, and C is the communication. There's a whole chapter on the communication, because as we know, we can have a communication in a
Hmm.
volatile, reactive fashion, or we can have communication that's actually heard and from the heart, and not passive but not aggressive, the middle road. And so I think simplified the tools, because everyone, in a messy place, if people are in a messy place, they don't want a book think I remember being thrown a book on boundaries, and it was just like so profuse. I was just like, whoa, I can't handle this. I'm going through a trauma here, you know? So I wrote my book as a manual that you can pick up and just open it on any page that you feel is appropriate to you, and picks and something will uplift you, and a tool that you can carry you through the hard times.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's I think it's the biggest problem in most relationships. People don't know how to communicate. And we know it's already documented men and women communicate in different ways. And it's like, when it comes down to it, it's like most people want to start an argument versus actually have a conversation about things, and it's to me, it's just it's kind of racks my brain because me and my ex, we're getting a divorce now, and it's like it wasn't just communication that broke down. It was, I came to her, told her I was having suicidal ideation, and she just basically told me, "Well, you picked the wrong time," and all these other things. And then it was, "Oh, to make me the 13th reason why," and all these things that got said, and it's just like that's interesting. But we did communicate a lot, though. Honestly, we had a lot of open communications about things. Except for when it came to that subject. Apparently, that wasn't on the agenda for the day. I was feeling these things, and I was talking to her. I picked the wrong time. So she just, told me I had to reschedule that, come back to that thought. I'm like, I'm glad that's how that works. So, but it, it seems like that's how a lot of the breakdowns happen, though. You think about it, a lot of them don't communicate. They don't have open communication or dialogue. Somebody always gets mad about something instead of just kind of asking the question, okay, well, I don't understand what you said. So can you please explain that? You know what I mean? That's why I hate
Yeah.
text messages.
Well, I think yes, text messages, can lead people, it can be very confusing text messages, but I think the main thing is the reality of life in on this planet is that people are so busy. We're so busy with life, Pete. We're so busy, putting bacon on the table, with our jobs, with our families, and and we're so we've got stimulated with screens coming at us all the time that we numb ourselves as to how we really truly feel. And if we can't feel, how do we know what we need? And then so the problem is we're numbing ourselves. Some people are numbing themselves with medication, and whether that's drugs, alcohol, or
Hmm.
from the pharmacy. And and it has its rightful place. If we need to be on antidepressants, we need to be on them. But we need the first starting block is we need to feel how we feel, and then to follow through with our feelings. But a lot of people haven't got the self-worth to actually stand up to what's bothering them. They go, "Oh," and they edit how they feel. They suppress how they feel because no one wants someone who's angry, and no one wants someone who's sad, as you found. No one wants to hear about how depressed I am. And you sometimes think, "Oh, well, I want to shield my family from that. Why would I want to share my ugly, uncomfortable feelings with my family?" But the problem is if we're not feeling into how we feel and telling our loved ones how we feel, we develop walls in our relationship, and a relationship, we start to walk around on eggshells. Can't talk, my husband might leave me, my wife may leave me. And so then all of a sudden you're looking at the person that you're meant to know, and you're not really sharing you. How can we have real connection when we're not being authentic about how we feel and what we need? We can't have any real connection. We're just living a life that's not really our own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But you
so
gotta think about though, but Elizabeth, you gotta think about it this way though. Remember now, men usually try to open up about these things, and then the ladies say, "Well, we don't want to hear about that. We don't want a sensitive man," even though they're just expressing how they feel because we all have feelings. And that's the pushback you get in that conversation, and then it's sometimes when women are feeling what they're feeling, it's, "Oh, they're crazy," or and it's really not. Both sides really are not wrong. Like, they're having their feelings the way they're feeling. And then, these guys that are trying to talk are being told, "Well, you're sensitive. You're too sensitive. I don't want a sensitive man." I'm like, "But do you want him to I don't get it though. You want them to communicate, but then you don't want them to say anything. You know what I mean? It's like the mixed signals start coming out.
Yes, well, I think what happens, Pete, is when someone has the courage and the vulnerability to talk about how they truly feel, it can trigger the other person. They go, "Oh gosh, this person's talking about their feelings. I don't want to look at my uncomfortable, ugly feelings. This is getting a bit icky." And so they can run the other way, as you've found, because you're being vulnerable and you're being open and you're allowing your feelings to be heard. But the other person is not ready to potentially face how they truly feel. And so that's just, as I think, it's the saying is, we can never control the actions of another. All we can do is respond as best we can. We're only responsible for how we are and how we act. And so when we change that, our whole life, I found that as I sort of climb the rungs of the ladder and keep practicing feeling into my feelings, acknowledging, allowing, accepting how I feel. B, A, this A, acknowledge. B, putting the boundary in place. And C, communicating it, not aggressively, just from how I feel. Then I start to feel lighter. I start to feel lighter because I'm no longer holding on to that sorrow within me and no longer holding on to that anger, which just keeps me heavy and in the quicksand of emotion. So you do it for yourself and you don't, we can't change others. That's just where they're at on their journey. Everyone's on their journey. We're all on the magical mystery tour called life, and we're all, I think we're all doing the best we can. And we can, once we start to lift up ourselves, we tend to, we lift up our vibration and we attract higher vibrational people and opportunities into our life. But it's not an overnight fix. I'd love to say, wave our magic wand and, oh, we're all happy and it's all good. And, that brings into you know, my mind about people saying, "Oh, I'm happy. Peace be with you. Oh, so joyous and life is good." That's, I believe that's, emotional bypassing, and we're delaying our opportunity to heal by putting that shiny face on, that we see on Facebook so often.
Mhm, mhm.
Everyone's cool on Facebook. Why aren't we cool in real life?
Exactly.
Everyone's,
Oh, I
so
think I think what you're alluding to a little bit too is like how people present themselves on social media a lot of times. Like, oh, we have the happy family, but really behind closed doors, it could be a complete shamble, and no one ever knows, you know. And that's the
yes,
scary part with social media now, with all these different sites. It's like
yes,
it's a lot of people are basically like most of them are just lying to you. They're just seeing what they're just showing you what they want to show you because if they
yes,
really showed you what's going on, you know, everything is just be it's all complete shamble. You know, the
yes,
marriage is just a complete shamble. The husband and wife are constantly arguing, you know, and things like that too, you know, and that's the scary part about social media is like there it's so much, but at the same time, you know, it's like it has its positive and negatives.
yeah,
It's just a lot now, you know, because now you have
yes,
different reach of different things and all these different apps, and then oh my, there's too many to count these days. There
yes.
really is.
Well, I think my publicist said there's a thing going around on social media about glowing up. You have to get over your little obstacle, and you have to just glow up. And I'm going, well, no. No, you have to take that. If you just ignore it, you're emotional bypassing it, and it can't be seen and heard, and it can't be processed. The sadness or the anger has to be looked at. Has to be, we can't just keep busy and carry on. Be great. I mean, we can. I mean, 99 point no, a lot of the population does that. We
Mm,
just keep busy and we carry on. Keep the peace, there's all these, "Oh, keep the peace," but the reality is we'll all those heavy emotions get stuck in us, like doctors are cottoning on. If you've been through a stressful period and you haven't allowed yourself to process how your anger or your sadness, you can end up with health implications. So, this masking of how we truly feel has to stop if we want to step into an abundant life, a fun, joyous life. A toddler doesn't think, "Oh gosh, I can't have a tantrum now." And a toddler will bang its legs as much as it can to get that frustration and resentment and anger out of its system. Whereas we're not bashing our pillow enough, or, s you know, stamping our feet in. We need to channel that anger or that sadness and redirect it into something more powerful, being our confidence, and by having that powerful conversation and speaking up about what we need and what we feel and what we need.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of people should start advocating more for themselves. And, I think that a lot of times when that happens, a lot of people say that, well, you're being selfish. I'm like, no, I'm looking out for me at the end of the day. You're not looking out my best interest. I'm looking out for my best interest. And I don't think enough people do it. And at the same time, I think that's what they're afraid of, that people are gonna tell them, "Well, you're being selfish with your time and this," and, that whole thing that comes out, that whole argument will come out of like that, and a lot of people are just afraid not to be okay. It's like, everybody wants to be picture perfect. If you think about, like, television shows, like, like the '60s and '70s were, like, the perfect housewife, "Oh, it's so great, no matter what, nothing's really a problem," but really, like, a lot of us nowadays, it's just like, we all got problems. It's just nobody wants to admit it anymore, because when you start talking about certain things, like especially mental health, when you start talking about mental health, the comments of these things that people are saying to people are just
Mm,
insane. Like
yes.
there's a girl I do a Sunday show with, that we co-host. She had like she has schizoaffective disorder. So like explaining this to people that don't understand it, first off, is just, it's really interesting look the looks in her faces. But when she goes through and starts telling the story about what's going on, the things that are being said to her, oh hey, go to the hospital, you're crazy. Too late, already been there. Like these are all things that she's already done. It's like, you're telling her things that and it's just like, I don't get why people have to be so insensitive about things. It's like, if you don't understand, how about do a little research? Like Google's there for a reason. You're on the internet now. Might as well use it and go look up what this is.
At least say that I don't understand.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like, just open communication, just from the truth of where you're coming from. It strengthens the relationship. Whereas if we're still sort of, not being true to ourselves, well, how can we have any real connection with anyone?
Exactly.
You know, if we're not ourselves, whether it's with our children, our colleagues, our partner, or our boss, we're not going to be heard. If we're not being our authentic self, that's our superpower. But it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage. I'm telling you. Well, it did for me, to be able to just. It's so much easier just to keep the peace and carry on. And, I've got the picket fence, I've got the house, I've got the 4 children, and then all of a sudden the house is down in a pile of, the picket fence disappears and the nightmare begins when we don't look at the relationships and give relationships time where we present our authentic self and we allow the other person to express how they truly feel. Well, then that's when we get the magic of strengthening a relationship and nurturing it. But it takes practice and it takes vulnerability and it takes courage. And my book, Free and First, Unlocking Your Ultimate Life, gives you really simple tools to actually step up in your life, no matter what life's challenges are, what you're being dealt at the moment, whether it's, uh, emotional turmoil, financial turmoil, um, relationship health turmoil, all the problems are universal, and they all, with the right tools, can help you really lift up into, they can be kindle wood to lift into a much better place.
Yeah. So, what's it like being a keynote speaker? Like, I know I see that sometimes with people. I think it's very interesting. So, what are some of your keynote speeches been about? Though I'm very curious because I think it's really cool, honestly.
Well, you see, sometimes, people will come to me and say, look, I just really want you to talk about tools and tips to feeling good, or can you really pull apart forgiveness and why we need to do it? Because I don't see any point in it.
Yeah.
Or I mean, universally, everyone is wanting to feel good. If you could, if there would be the magic wish, if you could snap your fingers and feel good forever. I mean, find someone who wouldn't
All
wouldn't
right.
say yes
Exactly.
to that. Feel good, be healthy, happy, and in peace, a peaceful situation forever whilst on this planet. Then that's why I wrote this book. I wanted to send out the tools and tips to be in a situation where you can be that, where you can feel free, to hold the reins on your life and be the leader of your life, not be doing things because we unconsciously do things for people's approval.
Yeah.
Uh, and that started very early with me. I don't know if you can relate, but I was as the eldest child, and I would always be doing things to keep my parents happy and looking for their love and approval. And then it moved on to the teachers, and then it was on to my peers, you know, and then it was onto my lovers, my husband and children. And whoa, gosh, fast forward my life. And then I thought, wow, here I am doing things for thinking secretly that, oh, that will gain me love and approval. And then I had to really look back and peel it back and get myself sorted, get my inner landscape, tune myself into me and work out how I am and lift me. And once I lift me, that will lift others. If I'm sad, bad, and angry, and I think of my children, guess what? They're going to get my sad, bad, and angry vibe. And then they're going to have sad, bad, and angry feelings. So putting ourselves first is not selfish.
Hmm.
And that's my book, Free and First, because if you're going, "Oh, no, I can't do that. I've got children, I've got partners. I can't put myself first. That's being really, really selfish." No, it's selfing. It's the most powerful thing you can do is to put yourself first, lift yourself up by feeling into how you feel and giving yourself what you need by having that empowered conversation, that uncomfortable conversation, that scary conversation. Yes, it will be. You need to practice it. It's better than saying nothing and enabling. By saying nothing, playing havoc with your health,
Yeah.
and you're really enabling bad behavior to continue. You're actually, by suppressing how you feel and not speaking up, you're going, hey, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. The other person is fine. Everyone's fine with that behavior, and they don't get to hear that it's not fine. So they continue to think maybe it is fine. It's enabling bad behavior.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to you. And we're all, we reward ourselves when we take one step forward. And then for me, I would take three steps back. I'd move one step forward. Okay, well, having lots of healthy sleep or eating well. And then I'd, get onto the vodka and tonics and I'd step three steps back. And
Yeah.
so you could shame yourself if we just have to keep taking baby steps forward. If we shame and blame ourselves, we're just going to feel worse. All we can do is saying, well, I'm doing the best I can, and I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the next and giving myself what I need. And in the early days, what I needed, and this is critical, what you need in the early days. I mean, I sometimes I couldn't get out of bed and I would jump in a bath to feel nurtured and loved, a hot bath. In the early days, it was tricky to just function. And so what I needed then was just something that would 10 minutes to bring me joy. So have a list of things that bring you joy is my when you're really feeling down, try and put the list near the fridge, near the toothbrush, and have your go-to list of 10 simple things you can do to feel better in this tricky time.
Right. Yeah, I like to say to people all the time, it's like, whenever you run into that conversation, like, well, I don't want to be selfish, the whole thing, like you were saying, oh, well, all this, that, no. It's like, no, no, listen, if you're not good enough or you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to do anything for anybody else? At the end of the day, if you don't put yourself first and make sure you're ready, it's like, how are you going to expect Pete or you're going to expect Elizabeth to do something for these other individuals if you're not taking care of yourself?
Mm,
And it's the same thing with your mental health. It's the same thing, though. Essentially, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not in a good place, like what good are you to anybody else around you? And it doesn't make any sense because at the end of the day, you're be detrimental versus actually helping them. So what
mm.
you're exactly what you're saying. So put yourself first is the whole idea behind it. And then that's the same thing I tell people. I'm like, you got to put yourself first. Like at the end of the day, if you're not in that state of mind where you're good enough for somebody else, it's like then what good are you to anybody else around you? You're not gonna do them any
Yeah,
good. Especially kids, because kids always look at us, the adults are looking to us to see how to do things and that they see you're struggling, they're like, okay, well, mom and dad struggle, so I can struggle too. Instead of, trying to take care of themselves and show, listen, hey, listen, you got to prioritize yourself versus everybody else.
yeah.
Stop trying to people please people.
Yeah, and also I think, you touched on that with we're the role model for our children, and our children are the role model for their children, and the children's children, and the cycle continues.
Mhm.
So it's important. The most important thing is it's it's okay for a child to see that a parent is feeling angry or feeling sad, because
Mhm.
if we don't make it okay, then they're not going to feel that they can talk about how they truly feel. And if we bottle up our feelings, it's not going to do any good for anyone,
No.
ourselves, or the people around us, our loved ones, or even the world, if we want to take it that far.
Yeah.
It's we're projecting into the world our aggression and our anger is not the way to go. And it gets it. That's the world's going through a challenging time as we speak. So it's like really, it starts with each person looking at how they contribute in their life, and looking and doing some work on themselves so as they can lift up into a better place. And if they're sad, nurture themselves more. If they're feeling angry, then look, don't react. Stand back and respond. Have an empowered conversation to that person that's causing the anger. The problem is, people, it's very quite interesting. I find, Pete, that often when we're angry, we'll speak to everyone except the person that we're angry about, angry with.
Right. Yeah.
So we go to the yoga class and we think, okay, well, I'm doing my yoga, I'm feeling good. And then we'll go to the coffee shop and then we'll talk about the drama. You know, he says this and she says this, and oh, it's been great, it's this, blah. And we've done something good in our exercise class and we've lifted ourselves up, and then we go to the coffee shop and we're down in the wrestle,
I love that analogy. Yeah, that's good. That's
engaging in
good.
more negative energy. So we need to sort of go cut to the chase and go, okay, what is making me angry? And have that empowered conversation with that person rather than about them in the should have, could have, would have,
Mhm.
regret, the drama of life.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to make anyone feel good, I think, when we hang talking about over and over again the same drama.
Mhm.
It makes it a bigger drama.
I think you touched on something interesting there, though, because like the toxicity that these people are just love this drama these days. I don't know what it is. Like, we'll take TikTok for an example. Like, I swear to God, like every time you log into this app, like you find the most dramatic things happening. People just like they feed on this drama. And it's like,
Mm,
no, I'm good. I'm gonna go my own path over in this way, you know. And I
mm,
know a lot of people are like they cringe when they hear these different apps, and it's like you know use them to your advantage. So like I find so many people that are big mental health advocates and things like that. Like you get into toxic people regardless. You're on the internet, it's gonna happen. You're gonna get some idiot that comes in and says something. It's how you react to it. You know, like
mm,
you're saying, like how you react. You know, and it's like it's just drama city all the time, no matter where you go on. In fact, you think about like Facebook groups and all these other things, you just
mm.
watch all them just start being dramatic about the stupidest things possible. And you're like, really, this is what you chose your energy today? You woke up today to just be mad at the world about whatever it is you've chosen right
Yeah.
now. And
Well,
it's
I think the thing is, the simple thing we can do, it's a really simple thing, is we've got 60,000 thoughts a day, but if we're not feeling good, we can choose. We can choose. We can either choose to do something that helps us feel better,
mhm,
or we can continue to do something that hurts us to feel worse. So if people feel that engaging in TikTok or social media is making them feel good, well, if it's lifting your vibe and making you feel more energized, well, continue. But if going for a walk in the park or a swim in the sea or having a telephone call with a supportive friend, not to talk about the drama, but talking about things that lift you, well, it's choice point. It's choice point. What we're choosing, how we're choosing to spend those valuable minutes that we get every day. We can choose to watch the screens, engage in the drama that unfolds everywhere, whether it's TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or whatever channel you're on.
mhm,
And it's choice, isn't it? I mean, or we can shut down the computer, turn off all the technology and breathe in the fresh air and go for a walk and put our running shoes on and get out in nature and see which works, do an
yeah.
experiment.
No, I think you had a good point there, though. I mean, doing a cleanse like a social media cleanse. I did this all the time. Like I'll literally like I'll post things. So I have a schedule that does it for me now. Like I'm involved in TikTok to the point like I do a lot of live streams and things like that. But then after that, I just kind of space myself for a little bit. There's times
Mm,
I won't be on for a couple days, and people are like, "Where you been?" I'm just doing me. Because you need
mm.
that cleanse. That fear of missing out is always there, you know, because then you always want to be okay. And then the 10,000 different messages, just turn your phone silent, man. If it's really that
Yeah,
important, they'll get a hold of you.
yeah, it's a toxic cleanse. It's just, that
Mhm.
may be saying goodbye to people or things or behaviors. So
Mhm.
it's up to you. You can go, okay, what's my toxic cleanse? What three behaviors do I really want to just like throw out for this year? And just, and people, like, but please, if when we're throwing out people, that's fine, but make sure we don't hold on to resentment. Don't hold on to that grudge, because I'll tell you, as I love Nelson Mandela quote, if you hold on to resentment, it's like drinking poison yourself and expecting the enemy to die. You're doing yourself a disfavor. I don't mean condoning their behavior. We don't need to condone their behavior, accept their behavior in any way, but do it for yourself. Forgive them. Just forgive them so as we can uplift and feel better, because it's too much to take on their stuff. That's the problem. We take on other people's stuff too, and other people's energy, and that's not
Mhm.
our job. That's not
No,
our job.
I'm glad you brought up energies because I am very energy sensitive. So I feel that like I'm almost an empath. So it's a double whammy for me, man.
Yeah.
Like I go certain places and I could just feel it. And like I come home and I feel so drained because it's like you feel the emotions and the energy around you and,
Mhm.
you know, things like that too. So that I really believe in that one with you there. And it's like, you can't go to certain places because it's just too much for me. It's overwhelming, and it's just like, ugh, you know? But
Mm.
even doing the show too, like, when I'm recording the show, I learned early on about it because I wasn't sure what that feeling was, and, like, I'd be so drained after certain conversations, just drain the heck out of me. So like I'd have to go take a nap in between and I come back to do a second one because I did 2 episodes in the beginning of the show. I was doing the weekly Mondays, 2 shows. So I was doing 2 live episodes when I did them, and then afterwards I was like, I feel so drained. And then I found out when I met somebody who was an energy healer that I'm energy sensitive. Like she explained a lot of things, and then found I'm an empath and all that kind of stuff. And it's a struggle I go through, but at the same time, it's like I'm learning new things like grounding techniques and things like that, all these different things I use nowadays, and it's great when I get to meet people like yourself because I could take different tools that I get from everybody, and
Yes.
check out all these different books. I get tons of new books I'm looking through, all these different books people send me, so I'm getting different techniques I can share with other people. So not only am I absorbing the knowledge of what people give me, I'm taking it, I'm giving it back to other people too, like, all these things I learn, all these fun facts I'm learning about things, there's always people interested to ask me things like, "What did you learn today?" Well, let me tell you, and then you come with some random thing that they learned, and they're just like they're so fascinated by what you're telling them. I'm like, "Oh yeah, listen, it's a great book. You go check out this book. If you're having these kind of problems, and just like your book, as soon as I run into somebody that's running into the same problem, having a problem putting themselves first, listen, hey, I got a great book. You need to check it
Yeah.
out. My guest Elizabeth Jane just said, she's got a book here. You should check it out, see what you think, and stuff like that too. So it's nice. Um, when you bring up energy though, because energy is an interesting principle because it's really the same thing if you think about it. It's the same. It's like you attract the people you want and you expel the ones you don't want. So it's literally the same thing you're saying. It's like you're saying like, hey, listen, cut off these people.
Well, the interesting thing in a nutshell, we're 72,000 channels of energy that run through us. And so we as Buddha said, we attract.
Mhm,
Our thoughts are what we attract, and our feelings is what we attract as well. So if we're
mhm,
feeling disrespectful, if we're not if we're disrespecting ourselves, we tend to get surrounded or attract people who will disrespect us
mhm,
until we learn how to respect ourselves. And then when we're respecting ourselves, all those disrespectful people, they go, I can't pick on Pete. Gosh, he wouldn't allow me to disrespect him because they see that energy that you're projecting, that you're respecting yourself. So the bully in the playground won't pick on someone who's confident and
mhm,
loves themselves. They'll go and their energy will pick up on the person who is not feeling good, who disrespects themselves, who thinks they themselves as doesn't rank themselves highly enough.
mhm,
And so the bully will pick on that. So it's an inside job. If you want to have more opportunities and more abundance of joy and happiness and supportive people in your life, you have to start with looking at your inner landscape. And so that's the only way to lift into a better place is
mhm.
to lift you. And that doesn't mean, as we talked about before, going, I'm fine, I'm good, peace be all, I'm happy when you're not, when you're not looking at into the truth of how you really feel. Because
Yeah.
unless you shine your focus on that, that heaviness doesn't get to move on. That sadness or that anger doesn't get processed, and we still, in essence, are feeling heavy and that's where we need to be present and be doing something that allows those emotions, like the mindfulness, being in the moment. It's very hard if we're truly in the moment. It's hard to feel really bad. It's only when our thoughts distract us into the past of the, oh, should have, could have, would have, the shame, the judgment, the comparison, the complaining, that just, whoa, that takes us down, our energy down, drains our
Mhm.
energy. And also the fear of the future. I can't, what will happen? You know, I could, and your imagination is a wonderful thing. It can either work for you or against you, and
Yeah.
you can think awful thoughts, but they're not real until they're, manifested in the now.
Yeah,
So they're
my
just,
anxiety's like that. It'll
and
take
they,
things and run and just reinvent them, and it'll come with some very
yes.
interesting storylines.
And so as soon as, you go, "Hey, monkey mind thoughts," you're hanging in the past, or you're predicting a fantasy future. I'm going to come back into the present. I'm going to power up, because that's when we power our energy up, and we're energy. We want to power up. So I'm going to go, I'm not listening. I'm not going there in the drama. Oh, sorry. Not going into the fearful future. I'm going to bring myself back into the now, and like plugging in my mobile phone, I am going to charge myself up right now. Got 10 minutes in between meetings, and I'm going to just concentrate on my breathing
Hmm.
or the colors I see around, so as I know, if I'm doing that, that I am in the now. I am powering up. Deep breathing is, my parasympathetic nervous system is happy, and I'm feeling fine, and I'm grounded, as you said, imagining that, putting our feet on the earth, bare feet on the grass is helping us to sort of feel grounded and
All right, exactly. So, Elizabeth, before we start wrapping up this episode, I do want to ask you something. I ask all my guests the same question. This is kind of a fun one. So, the question to you is that if your mental health had a song, what would you say that song would be? Now, you can break it down however you would like.
my mental health.
Yeah, everyone loves this question too, by the way.
Oh gosh, I haven't really thought about this question. The only thing, I
What's the
think of the
first song
beat.
that comes to mind?
Well, the Beatles song, "Imagine" comes to mind,
That's a good one.
because
Okay.
that's my truth, and I've always, since I was 12 or 13, I've always, imagined that if we can sort of do the work on ourselves and lift ourselves up, then a new world will open up. And so that's the song that I turn very loud on the radio when it comes
I
to
love it.
to uplift myself, the imagine, and I just really just, I find it very uplifting.
For anybody who's not watching, Elizabeth lit up the minute that question came out. I love her answer too when she said Imagine with the Beatles. You could just tell she has such a great connection to the song because the look on her face alone, she's just glowing with it. And it's great, Elizabeth. I love it. That was a great answer too, because the Beatles are the first time that they've shown up since I've been asking this question. So it's great to add that to the entries of different titles of people's songs and things. It's great because there's no wrong answer to the question. It's exactly how you feel about things. So with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me, though. I had a great time meeting you. It was very honor to have you here.
My pleasure, Pete. And anytime you want to talk about a particular thing, because I know we've covered so many things, but so if you want to talk about ways to lift out of depression, or any specific area, because we've sort of covered a lot, and sometimes it's better just to pinpoint and to deal with one particular facet,
Of course.
and see
We'll
how we
definitely
go.
invite you to come back again. Elizabeth, of course, we had a great time the first time. Why not have you come back? It's all right. Listen,
Okay,
Elizabeth,
great.
before we start signing off, though, why don't you tell me where they can find you? Just plug wherever you think the best place to find you would be. What would you say? Website, any social
Yes,
media sites you want to plug, and then let them know where they can find the book, of course, because we want them to go buy the
yes.
book.
Yes, yes. So my easiest way is to just go on my website, elizabethjane.com, and then we have .au for Australia. So I'm in here in Sydney, Australia. So it's Elizabeth Jane, Jane, just the normal spelling, .com.au. Or if you're an Instagram person, you can find all my podcasts and interviews through Instagram, on Elizabeth Jane Life, Life. And of course, the book is there and you can get it digitally. It's about to just release the second edition
Oh,
of my book. And it's going to be available on Audible very soon, because some people here, we're busy people. So, we can listen to it on the way to work, or or on our run or whatever we're doing, or our walk in the park or whatever we're
Right?
up to.
Exactly. I like it. I like it.
So, yes, no, great to be here today. Thanks, Pete, for having me.
Well, definitely, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. Like I said, you're more welcome to come back. We'll figure out another time. Have you come back and visit again? It's okay. We've had a lot of returning guests to the show. We actually had a three-time returning guest come back this season as well. So, I love to have other people come back and have different conversations about different titles of things. So I'm definitely down for it. I enjoyed having you here. It was great. Thank you so much. I know it's a little so our schedules get a little crazy because Elizabeth's in Sydney and I'm here in Texas. So we're kind of like trying to figure this thing out. But we figured it out though. It's great to have you here though. But like I said, though,
We got there.
right, we got there. That's all that matters, guys. And with that being said, we're gonna wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety, guys. You know where to find me. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety on X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify all the way down to Pandora Radio. And as I always say, it costs absolutely nothing. Absolutely to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do to save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health?